So in this case, they weren't ahead, so it was just trying for something. So it was good to see them make a decisive shot call, but they're still growing into being the decisive team that's usually needed to win games in this meta.
That's right. Well, we are into game 2. Draft right now. Jin Air on the blue side, and it will be a Kindred ban once again. You have a carry jungler like Chaser, you probably don't want him to have that. Now, interestingly, we talked about the possible prevalence of Graves jungle or Graves top in this particular matchup, because that was what Trace had been playing a lot in solo queue, but it's not going to happen. MF ban coming through, however.
Love to see some Graves. Chaser, that's what I want to see. I want to see Chaser move away from the Rex side. I want to see him return to what he's known for. It's carry jungling. Nidalee is a champion that I'm not the biggest fan of on patch 524, but still certainly in the realm of possibility, and specifically champions like Graves can be really powerful carries from the jungle.
All right, Fiora's still up. Was banned last game, and that would be a bit interesting. Jin Air trying to prioritize a Kalista that fell all the way through the draft in the last game.
I like Kalista with double ADs. For example, when we saw Corki coming through from SKT, the Kalista from Bang made a lot of sense in that scenario. It's just that her lack of siege means that I think you need to pick up the siege from one of the many AD champions that are viable right now in mid.
Yeah, and they are actually just going to grab the Kalista right off the bat, so definitely a big priority on that champion. A bit surprisingly, they have let that Fiora through. That is something that Jin Air banned in the first game of this series. Very interesting pivot. Trundle's still up too.
A powerful pick. Misfortune was one of the bans this game, but true AD carries, so excluding Kindred, all are available right now. Maybe we'll finally see that Ezreal we've spoken so much about.
Yeah, Lissandra could be the takeaway here.
Lissandra Lucian would be a decent 2 picks coming through.
Lots of choices, to be sure. So, waiting on this one, but Lissandra does seem overwhelmingly likely, considering Longzhu did ban it out last game, and it is a big flex pick here for Jin Air. And Lissandra Trundle. These were 2 Longzhu bans last game, so clearly putting a premium on these picks in the draft phase.
Coming back to IM Katowice, whatever was able to do on the red side was one of the highlights of that tournament for me. Was Flex City. It was all about 3 or 4 flex picks, and in this first rotation we already have 2 flex picks, 2 true flex picks picked up already.
Yeah, just because we mostly see Trundle in support does not mean Trundle cannot be played top right now. He absolutely can be in certain matchups. Can be advantageous, but that means that the Fiora does fall to the second round of the draft, and might indicate the pick here from Solon, a player, I would say, more likely than Trace to play that Fiora. Certainly a powerful carry, more in his style.
And Fiora is one of those carry tops that, and to some degree, it's kind of an accurate statement to say that tanks are back in the game. Specifically, top lane tanks have been making their way back in, so that's forced out some of those top lane carries. But Fiora's percentage maximum HP true damage from her passive, and just the fact that she outscales almost every top lane matchup, means that she's still relevant as this top lane carry.
Well, we are going to see the Rex side here, unfortunately, Papa Smithy. I wanted something else, but to be fair, it is smartest right now for Longzhu to take jungle AD carry, because that means they can still flex any of their picks to any position effectively. We don't know what their mid is. We don't know necessarily that the Corki could be mid. The Trundle could be top or support. We really have no idea.
Remember, Samsung did play top lane Rek'Sai.
Okay.
It's not going to be a
it's
top
not
lane
going to be
Rek'Sai.
It's not going to be a top lane Rek'Sai this game, but in order to keep them in the dark, we won't have a fancy jungle pick from Chaser, which definitely a letdown. Looking forward to seeing some fun Jungle Graves games myself.
You know this, Monte Cristo. It's a long season. We got time. There will be jungle carrying from Chaser. Bet on it.
But I wanted it now, damn it. Okay, so blind pick mid it will have to be for Kuzan. Contemplating the Victor, could easily take something like a LeBlanc, but I think that ranged wave clear is going to be super important. They need some form of wave clear in the early game when you already have the Kalista and the Fiora on your side, so smart pick.
He has to even consider blind picking Cleanse or a very defensive summoner spell, just because he might have opted into mid laning against what was already on the board, which is Lissandra Rek'Sai. The moment that Lissandra starts with the ultimate, you're being locked down for days and burst down if you're Victor. Not the best matchup, but they're even thinking about a Coco special as a last pick.
That's right. We call him the Korean Sniper for a reason. An incredible Jace player. as many of you know from watching him on CJ and his last season. And the Corki Jace combination is going to be quite potent when it comes to Siege, and that's what it's going to be. I love it. Great draft. Have the Trundle for some zone next to turrets. And you have great disengage with Lissandra, a couple forms of crowd control. I really like Longzhu's draft.
The Siege, when you're talking about putting down a Trundle pillar next to a turret, there's so much room that you can't move into. Suddenly, hitting those shock blasts is going to be a piece of cake. The rockets and shock blasts raining down with the Trundle and potentially the Lissandra to control zones means this is a fearsome Siege comp, and I feel like Siege is the way to win on patch 524.
Yeah, it is a major part, and with the relative lack of wave clear outside of Victor, could be problematic depending on where Victor is on the map. Where if Victor is dead, there's basically no way for Jin Air to defend turrets. So if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to win with a 4-1 split and hope that Fiora becomes that unstoppable late game split pusher. We saw KT do it yesterday. It's certainly a possibility.
Look for rotations from Expression to come lockdown. He'll be in the top lane, but still, Kuzan is definitely the MVP. Take him down, the wave clear is gone, and if it's 15 to 25 minutes into the game, those turrets are going to be raining down.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. So, a bit of a return to what we saw CJ do last season when they play around Coco's Jace pick. He's certainly one of the best Jace players ever. So, I always love seeing him on this pick. He's one of the few players that I really enjoy on it. Of course, Pawn, another one, but Jace from Coco, definitely a treat. So we'll see how it goes this game. New team, new teammates as we head into game 2. Longzhu Gaming versus the Jin Air Green Wings. Fans from both teams in the audience tonight as we head into the second game of this best of 3. Longzhu looking to close out their first series 2-0. There's a lot of expectations for this roster. He spent the offseason putting together what many of us consider a sort of Korean super team. And so a failure here against kind of a batch of rookies in Jin Air would be egg on the face for Longzhu as an organization who has spent a lot of money to assemble this team.
It took Chinese money to make a Korean super team, but we finally got it.
It's okay, SK Telecom still exists, Papa Smithy.
That's absolutely true. But you have to say that Longzhu and their willingness to spend money is what kept players like Flame, who we're not seeing this series, Chaser and Coco, theoretically at least, in the Korean scene. So we owe them a debt of gratitude to mean that the level of talent, you have to say the top 4 teams in Champions, you know, at least projected, have very impressive lineups across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Fury too, who after being on Samsung all of last year would have been a prime target to move to another region. And in fact, the reason why he was banned was he was temporarily involved with TDK.
Literally involved in the act of moving to another region.
But in the end, he did end up signing with Longzhu, and that means that star player here, Captain Jack, did announce his intentions to go to university soon. So we'll have to see if he actually sticks around on this roster or whether he is the stopgap for the next month while Fury is banned from competitive play. But we assume that he'll be the starter. Of course, we did also assume that Flame would be the starter, so who knows at this point.
Every time we talk about Fury's potential move to NA, I'm reminded that OQ will be playing in the NACS this split.
Definitely scary for sure.
Sad also. I miss OQ already.
Well, maybe he'll be in the NALCS, Papa Smithy. Who
the
knows?
OQ moments will never end. Whether he's in the NALCS, the LCK, wherever he is, there will be OQ moments.
He wouldn't be OQ without the OQ moments, but certainly one of the most fantastically gifted AD carries when it comes to mechanics.
Did you realize his parting shot to Champions was trying to turret dive a Malphite as Ashe?
That was really sad, honestly.
But it's accurate also.
Accurate also. Trace made short work of him during that turret dive. Just simply ulting him with that Malphite. So, we do see here some very misleading statistics. Pilot has definitely played more than one Kalista game. That is not true, so.
He's just a winner at Kalista. Can't you just deal? It's on the screen, Monty. OGN approved.
Well, look up that stat.
I really like the team comps coming through because we focused on Longzhu and their amazing siege comp, put down the Trundle Pillar, walk up to a turret, rain it down with both magic damage and physical damage poke between Corki and Jace respectively. But let's talk a bit about Jin Air. The one thing that we were confirmed yesterday, we saw this Lissandra versus Fiora matchup. There is real outscale potential for the Fiora. So the 4-1, if they can keep Kuzan alive to wave clear, if this game is fairly even 25-30 minutes in, there's really not much answer from Longzhu to deal with the Fiora split push.
Yeah, Fiora, an absolute monster in that scenario. Something that not many teams are efficiently able to deal with in a late game situation. Let's take a look at the laning back here on the top side. No moves yet from either of our junglers onto the lanes, simply farming up for the time being. Wing now looks to get in for a lane gank here as the wave reverses and pushes back towards Jin Air's top side.
Still a pretty low percentage gank unless they really lay down some damage.
You do have the Trundle Pillar for just disengage, and Captain Jack, if he sees that cocoon flying at him, easily able to get out with a Valk. So playing far back right now, Longzhu is refusing to get aggressive, and that's going to be a lot of wasted time for Wing. Meanwhile, Chaser continues to power through his jungle.
Our farming Chaser, not on the champion we'd expect. It's not the Nidalee this time, but it's farming up his Rek'Sai.
Chilling Smites for both junglers. We've seen a good amount of Tracker's Knife and Chilling Smite. Not a lot of Skirmisher Sabers so far in Korea.
See it in solo queue, but for now, Tracker's Knife makes a lot of sense when it comes to competitive play. Trying to get vision, specifically in champions that weren't going to pick up the Sightstone. Of course, Rek'Sai will itemize into that at some point, but when you're talking about the Kindreds that we saw yesterday, or the Nidalees that we will see at some point this season, Tracker's Knife, certainly a good option.
Definitely. So on here, falling behind early, of course. Lissandra is going to have an early advantage. Chaser's going to find Winged right here, and he's going to find a pink ward, dodges out of the cocoon, and doesn't trade particularly well.
Like just trying to create pressure to get rid of the pink ward.
And that is what he's going to get, especially with Jace pushed up. And here comes Coco. He's going to hammer Winged. Oh, Coco, there's the flash, and you've got nowhere to go, Winged. Crush the spider. Hit it with a hammer.
Doesn't need to be much of a sniper when he's just waiting for the face check, but waiting in the wings, much like Chaser was his teammate Coco, and they're not done.
They're not. Chaser just going to simply take a turret shot right here to delay the recall. So on. It's level 5, Expression's level 6, and you are about to get entombed, my friend.
Welcome to competitive play.
That's right. Welcome to competitive play. So on here under the turret. Expression going to ult himself. Chaser has a tunnel ready. Not going to take any more turret shots. Kuzan here will get some damage on the turret and some denial, but that's 2 kills for Coco early on. 2 kills for Coco on this Jace means very scary things for Jin Air when it comes to powering up this siege, because he's going to be able to skip pretty quickly up the item tree, and once he hits that power spike combined with Captain Jack's Trinity Force, it is going to be very difficult for Jin Air to stop, and they only trade about a third damage on the turret for it.
Interested to see what he's turning this initial AD purchase into. It could be either the defensive choice in the more Malmortius or the Ghostblade, which would be the more offensive choice. Probably will end up with both items at some point this game, but always nice to see whether players are looking for that more aggressive choice. Is looking for the safer choice in competitive play. Is against effectively double AP with a jungle Elise.
Yeah. Does make sense. Play conservatively right now, take that lead and start running with it. Coco here being very deceptive, but man, getting into that jungle, he really just completely outplayed. And Winged making some pathing mistakes right there. You back off after losing that pink ward. You don't see that mid laner. You have to be very concerned, especially since Coco has a very quick recall time into lane because he did opt for a teleport.
And Chaser had already revealed himself. He was already waiting in one bush. The mid lane is missing, theoretically backing up his jungler, and the result was academic for Coco.
Yeah, Chaser, you could see one of the reasons why we really consider him the top jungler here in Korea, if not the very best, is because of his pathing and his intelligence on the map. And you can see how well he can chain these plays together, calling other players from his team over in order to make these plays. And It's resulting in a lot of pressure from Coco now with that blue buff and able to stack up that tier quite quickly. So1 is in a world of trouble right now. There's the ult from Lissandra. Pure there, just a block off wing. They want more than one. So1 on the run. Eventually he's going to fall. Expression picks up the kill. And that's going to be his first as he builds into that Rod of Ages. So1 caught out and alone, falling behind in CS still.
And we mentioned the win condition in the late game, and that's an eventual, that's with items, with levels, and of course, that timer is being reset and delayed further and further every successful gank that delays So1 from those core items that will inevitably lead to him having the 1v1 advantage against Lissandra. If it's at 25, 28 minutes and they're 10k gold behind, though, it's not as much of a factor.
Yeah, this is great shot calling, though. That's who you want to focus right now if you have that opportunity. Take advantage of the Lissandra power spike at 6 and make the most of it to delay this Fiora's growth. It's just going to buy you more time to siege without worrying about a major split push from Fiora.
What a depressing item set. Double Ruby Crystal. Obviously will eventually lead into a Black Cleaver, but certainly not the order of items that he's looking for, and just necessary or necessitated into it with the bad back timings.
Yeah, Coco, is he hitting hard here onto Kuzan? Has quite a bit of cash to spend at the moment, but trying to make the most of his blue buff. Kuzan now heads back, will grab a blue buff of his own, and Coco remains in the mid lane.
Unperturbed.
Unperturbed, assiduously killing minions.
Look at us and our big words.
I'm good at that, Papa Smithy. Some call me Sesquipedalian.
Do they, though?
They do.
Take your word for it. That eloquency factor will go down.
I could have just made that word up. Nobody knows.
It's fair. I got no idea. I'm nodding my head. I'm like, that's a word Monty would say. It's probably real. We should never play Scrabble. I'd challenge you every other word and lose horribly.
Sounds like we should play Scrabble.
Yeah, maybe the money matches are off.
The money matches, no Scrabble betting.
No Scrabble betting. No betting in Korea. Well, I guess we can bet, but probably not at home either.
That's actually true about betting. If you guys didn't know, Koreans can't gamble in casinos here, but if you are not Korean, you can.
You have to establish your non-Korean residency status, but yeah, that's the only way. So they accept our money, but and I guess to some degree our custom, but not for the locals.
Pretty funny stuff. Well, Janair here around the top side, but really vision dominance once again established by Chaser and Pure. There is a pink ward here for So1 to try and keep him safe, but that's going to be rapidly cleared out as he is put in the dark once again by Chaser, who has cleared that pink ward out quite a few times this game. And that just causes So1 to fall back. He's very scared. He doesn't see Chase on the map right now. And that means that's going to be a dead turret. Chaser putting on the pressure with Expression. Coco now back in the lane to catch the last few minions on this wave. And there's the first turret of the game easily going over to Longzhu.
It's not words I expected to say, but this has been a Chaser Rek'Sai masterclass in terms of the pressure around.
Great.
And it's the lane that he needed to be at. If you notice, Winged has been all over the map. Basically, after the failed gank and bot, has kind of left it to the wolves, and the result has been that Chaser has so far snowballed this bot lane, and Winged has been very low percentage in his forces so far as Longzhu just take down the dragon as Janair basically watch.
And there we go. Coco actually going to get grabbed and destroyed right away. Kuzan with the burst damage. Captain Jack on the side right now. Chaos Storm moved over to him. Has to flash over the wall. He finds Che on the other side, who is quickly ripped back with a Fate's Call. Knockup comes through. And I don't know if they wanted that one, Che. I don't know if you wanted to push that button. You did not want to push that button with the Lissandra ultimate still available. So they trade 1 for 1 on what could have been quite easily a 1 for none. But there's enough wave clear here. It doesn't look like Janair going to get much out of this as the Phosphorus Bomb falls and quickly clears out that situation. Sloppy fight from Longzhu and a great hook by Che to start things off.
An eventual 1 for 1, even though it was the nice pick from Che. But the dragon crucially swings this towards Longzhu, and that just means that the poke's going to get harder with that extra 6% stats.
Yeah, it definitely will, given a long enough timeline. Flash hook there, nice. Putting Coco right in the box. And we just have some action here as another gank onto So1 is going to cut our little replay short. So1 way in front of everything. Fortunately for him, not going to die despite having 0 vision in the bottom side jungle.
Gotta say, it must be very difficult shot calling wise to go from Trace to So On. Irrespective of what Trace was building, he is a safe laner first and foremost. And So On, he keeps pushing the boundaries as if this is a top-level solo queue game, and he's been rotated around for 13 minutes by first Chaser and now the rest of Longzhu.
Well, we see really, too, why Rek'Sai has been prioritized for Chaser. Truly great Rek'Sai players like Chaser and Bengi use the vision of the passive to do just wonderful things in terms of their pathing and outsmarting the opponent. The amount of information that it gives you as a top-tier jungler is pretty much second to none.
Well, let's extend that information word. What, of course, has been targeted the most in the preseason has been the removal of information, the removal of green wards, just in general, the sparing nature that you have to ward. It's one of those situations where as a support, you have to use your wards so judiciously because you have less Insight Stone, you don't have green wards. The fact that you have those tremor sensors gives you so much more information, what's opened up the early play from Longzhu. So the information that's gone from green wards seems to be replaced in the choice of Rek'Sai, and maybe that will cause a champion who's otherwise unchanged to rise up the priority rankings.
Yeah, definitely still one of the top junglers, in spite of how much damage some of these other junglers can do. And priority here from Longzhu looks well placed in the first couple of games, given Chaser's excellent Rek'Sai play and his ability just to create vision on the map for his team and get as much information as possible. So you see blue buff stolen right here, right under the nose of So On, who can't do much, and they are going to move towards the Rift Herald, and this is a perfect objective for Longzhu's composition.
I mean, game on game, this is a perfect improvement on their game one, where they had a lot of information but kind of fumbled it, kind of didn't use the vision advantage they had, didn't play around vision, and in the end kind of paid for it. And this game, so assertive, they've got the advantage. So On is basically a free kill, has no lane pressure wherever he goes, so pick up the enemy blue, pick up things like the Rift Herald, and now they even give it to Expression to compound what is a 2-level and massive gold advantage that Expression has over So On.
Right, and Jin Air too. Finally they have some wards on that side of the map, but So On still so afraid of a dive here from Expression, like you said, with that level advantage and the completion of the first major item, even though it's still stacking up. Chaser is here again just to keep pushing down turrets. Normally we would have expected the Rift Herald buff to maybe go to Coco or Captain Jack. Coco was the one who was there, and start setting up for the 4-1, but just threatening So On more and more, just denying him. And this has been a really good strategic read by Longzhu, that they need to take out this Fiora first and foremost in this particular game, because it denies Jin Air their major win condition.
Although Baron damage isn't something that Longzhu have in spades, they get the Baron and suddenly Victor doesn't have the right wave clear to be able to clear the waves as they approach turrets. This game is going to go pedal to the metal very, very quickly. So Baron would be, I think, a tip too far from a Jin Air point of view. And from 20 minutes onwards, they really need to keep vision around the Baron.
Yeah. Well, Longzhu now playing a little bit more defensively in that bottom side. Winged is there, but Chaser is too. Good wards, much better ward and vision control this game from Jin Air than we saw in the last one, where it's a bit lackluster. But Longzhu up a turret right now, and that is only going to continue as the game goes on. Coco actually rushing a Youmuu's Ghostblade this game.
It's been the big 80 item. You think about how 80 items have changed. Itemization for casters in particular is much more difficult. Ghostblade is the one item that saw basically a true buff through and through. It doesn't give critical strike anymore, but not that big a stat for Jace. So it is a very, very common rush. It shows he's not very worried about the magic damage coming through from Winged and Kuzan. And he's also got the Trundle theoretically in a team fight to shred the armor that he's no longer able to quickly pick up, as armor penetration is much more difficult on the percentage side for a champion like Jace.
Well, I mean, even flat armor pen has been kind of dramatically reduced in terms of itemization in the game. So
funnily enough, Ghostblade and more.
Yep.
Two of the only items that have that flat armor penetration.
The removal of Brutalizer certainly changed quite a bit. So we do have Coco now. You did see both side waves pushed up and everyone make moves, but they're not ready to commit to a mid-siege yet, despite putting two members of Jin Air in those side lanes.
Jin just need time. They specifically need time for So-On to get these items, get these levels. If all 4 members are... Oh, as Captain Jack has the package. We haven't spoken about the package this game yet.
Well, we've never talked about Captain Jack's package, so...
We'll find time.
Okay, there it is, though, and Captain Jack... Well, that was different than what we saw from Faker, playing it a little risky there as Kuzan drops his ult on him right as he sails in.
I have to say, Faker's package usage, much cleaner than Captain Jack's.
Wow, a bit risky there.
True analysis comments in 2016. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I have nothing to say about that, Papa Smoothie. No, your innuendo game is spot on today.
How about my analysis? All right?
Yeah, fantastic, as usual. We're going to take a look at the vision from both teams on the screen right now. Get a sense of the relative lack of information that Jin Air has. Pretty scary beyond that river.
Honestly,
watching some movement by Lysandra.
Just feels like Chaser turned on the style. This game, of course, has the tremor sense advantage that we've spoken to death about, but in general, Winged has been second to everything, or he's shown up for low percentage ganks, whereas Chaser's making plays and also smartly littering the Jin Air side with important wards.
Yep, and here he is, back again, ulting straight into the Raptor pit. So 2 dragons now taken by Longzhu. Got a nice, healthy lead on that objective.
Just wait for the 5-man grouping phase, because then the
That's what I am waiting for,
will
Papa
rain
Smitty.
down. You're always waiting for the 5-man grouping phase.
No, sometimes I like the split push game. Just depends on the strategy. I just like to see excellent strategy. So the 5-man grouping is going to be excellent strategy here from Longzhu, and of course that Trundle Pillar does make it very difficult to stop this. And Gravity Field, not going to do enough. You see Pure lurking around the side, and meanwhile Lysandra pushed up. They want to take this blue buff away.
Keep forcing things.
Okay, 2 blues now to Corki and Jace. This couldn't be going better for Longzhu.
Playing around the Lysandra has the big advantage over So-On's Fiora. Fiora is literally dead weight. Might as well be a moving ward as this situation, because there's no 2v2 that Fiora is winning right now.
Absolutely not. Trying to get some extra tankiness there, building into the Titanic Hydra. They want to go on Chaser. Chaser is very tanky, though, and here comes Expression. Will get hooked right afterwards, has to ult himself. Winged going to repel right out of the middle of that fight, and now Longzhu coming back. Captain Jack with the first kill of the fight. They're going to pursue So-On, and there's a flash knock-up onto him as they keep on running through the gate. He will get torn out of the middle of the Longzhu scrum with the Che Lantern. And then Expression is there in the mid lane, and the dive is going to be coming.
Wait to see if they dive.
Oh yes, they will dive. Kuzan now there trying to escape, and he picks up 1 onto Expression. So-On now back, has TP'd into the fray, and he wants to get onto Captain Jack. That will be dodged. And Chaser may be the latest casualty as So-On respawns and turns the fight around.
Crucial, a lot of experience as well, killing the higher level Chaser. Jeanette might actually get a turret to answer.
It's time for some Coco heroics.
Sniper.
Sniper, there's going to be a huge hit onto Pilot. And now Coco still on the pursuit, going to drop a blue trinket into the brush, and he's going to use the Ghost Blade. He wants to go on the offensive, but it looks like they might just be a little bit too fast. There's another shot, not going to hit.
Always exciting to track Jace, because you just know at this point in the game, either you're chunking people or you're tickling them, depending on how your early game has gone. And at 2-1-1 with a slight CS advantage, it's gone pretty well. Remember, Jin Air did initiate this fight.
Che played this really well, all things considered, though. Great hook onto Expression at the end of his Frozen Path.
Get the initial pick. Captain Jack picked up a kill. They looked for a lot more, did Longzhu, though. It was the Lantern that really spared the blushes of So-On, because if a second person got down, that teleport play could never have happened.
Yeah, So-On backing off, healing up, and then TPing right back onto the dive. So Longzhu a bit of overcommitment. They didn't have a Lysandra ult, and that allowed Kuzan to walk forward and pick up the kill onto Expression. But certainly all is not lost. A very large gold lead here at 22 minutes of 6,000 for Longzhu as they take a 3-turret lead.
And look, there is one item finished on So-On. It is working towards ostensibly the Black Cleaver as a second item. Both those items are picked up. This is not really a 3-item put together from Expression, even with the gold lead, that can really answer So1 split push. So the split push game, it's certainly been delayed, but 10 minutes from now, if this game is still relatively even, 4-1 is certainly an option for Jeanette.
Yeah, Longzhu has to get this mid turret and continue to control this dragon. A minute and a half until number 3, and taking out mid would be a nice step forward to continuing to control that objective and at least threaten 5 dragons later in the game. We were going to take a hook, but no follow-up.
As the Eye of the Equinox completed for a big load of health there, so still very tanky. No real incentive to go in on Pure even if you catch him.
Coco now playing with So1, just getting a little bit of turret damage down. Will back off, and red buff steal coming through. Jay gonna pop the box, not gonna save his red buff. Pure has to flash out of the gravity field. Captain JAG nice and buffed up right now. Coco still trying to keep the wave right where it is with under a minute until this dragon. Expression now put on mid turret killing duty, but JAG is here too. Not gonna find an auto before the wave melts.
Really good watching this pressure game from Chase. He was even contesting first the red buff, then just the Krugs. He's not giving away anything for free. They're chipping down every turret, whether it's the outer and mid or the inner and bot. And they have this short distance to travel between lanes because they can go so aggressively. They do not respect any skirmish advantage for Jin Air.
Yeah, now we do see Jin Air have to deal with this top wave too, which is inching ever closer to their inhibitor turret. There's another turret taken by Captain JAG as they move up 4-0.
Preseason patch in full display in top because they have a 2-turret advantage. The minions are auto pushing harder. They're doing more damage and taking less damage than the enemy minions. So So1 will have to go soak it up. He does have the Ravenous Hydra for some AoE damage, but it just means that it draws more people away from important objectives like this dragon.
That's right. So number 3 now stacked up here for IM as we're looking now at about a 36-minute possible 5th dragon should they take number 4 as well. So they're keeping up in terms of their win conditions, and now Captain JAG is here with a nice flaming package.
Nice flaming package. Riot invited this, naming it the package.
They did it to themselves, didn't they?
Gotta say, I mean, Faker was just a sight to behold on the mid lane Corki. The bot lane Corki is definitely, I think, the less attractive of the two options. I think in mid lane it can be oppressive. And
well, but if you have a pocket pick like
sure.
Coco's Jace,
sure,
then
sure.
it makes a lot of sense. But
just saying, overall, Corki mid seems like the go, but given the scenario here, absolutely understand the Jace.
Okay, so now the mid lane push is coming. They want to finish off this last turret. And there's the Trundle Pillar just to isolate Winged on the side and deal a little bit more poke damage. There we go, Captain JAG. Use that Valk to get it. Doesn't look like he actually took that turret shot in the end. And there it is, finally. So 1 inner turret remaining, and that's it for Jin Air.
So1 only able to find farm. Sandra will go and stop the minion wave as it crashes into the outer turret. There's not a single turret down for Jin Air yet. That is the pressure.
Grim.
They haven't been picking up their own buffs, both blue and red, I believe. 2 rotations have been picked up by Jin Air, and they just keep pushing out, and the global gold is the advantage here.
And there's the Trundle again, just breaking up the composition and allowing for that easy poke. Jay gonna go in with a hook, and actually takes out Pure, so they get a nice flay into the box. As Pure gets too far forward, tries to use his ultimate, but there's not really any tanky targets for him to select.
See the power of the pressure. All the gold comes from first, the massive amount of turrets there ahead, 5-0, but also the CS. So1 has been living on scraps. He's almost 100 CS behind.
Yeah. Flame Horizon,
ironically,
will be probably crossed by Flame's teammate, Expression.
Not Flame approved, that one.
We'll just assume Flame might have done better. So
That's true. I don't know about that.
not a Flame believer, are you?
I'm not a Flame denier either.
He's the closer, man. That's his position. We learned that in China.
That's true. He was the LGD closer. When they either didn't care about the result of a match or had it in the bag, Flame came out.
Yeah, that was pretty sad to watch him come into Worlds after LGD had already pretty much assured their elimination
Worth noting
in the
that
group stage.
Worth noting that in the summer season, Flame did have an impressive string of results as a starter for a few weeks. It was slow to warm up in the spring season, but it's going to be great to see him in the lineup when he finally does get there. But honestly, Expression struggled last season with stronger teammates. He's leveled up accordingly.
Well, it's very interesting to see Expression because really as a player, known as a strong laner, but kind of a mindless split pusher. But in this game, he's been putting the pressure on in all the right places, and he's going to TP in right now, right behind. It's going to be matched by Fiora, but everyone is there. Jin Air is caught in a very dangerous situation where they're going to be repeatedly poked and they have nowhere to go. And they wasted already an ultimate coming in from Kalista. Now Chaser going to try on the engage. They do throw it down. Coco does pick up Che, and actually Jin Air escaping without too many losses so far.
Crucially, So1 was able to slow down as, oh, they're still going.
And Captain Jack trying to wade through this Chaos Storm. Chaser going to pop forward, and there's Expression. Grabs another one and slows down So1 for Captain Jack to finish off. Great snipe at max range onto by Coco onto Kuzan. And that's going to mean another turret and an inhibitor right now.
That's why he picks up the Jace. He has the mechanics. He's very good at that long-range snipes. And when it's double AD and some more range champions, the turrets, the inhibitors, they all just go to dust.
Well, Jin Air, though, putting themselves in that very risky situation by catching themselves so far out of position. And Expression getting that neat little teleport behind with all of the vision that they had in the enemy jungle. And now Chaser on the fast track, racing over to Baron with his ultimate.
Now we do see Wind coming in. He's a lower level. There's going to be plenty of people peeling away. Baron's at 5,000.
And that will be denied. Hey, Winged, Sammer time. More spider crushing commencing. Pure actually finishes off that kill with the help of his Ignite.
Doing this immense damage.
Oh no, he just actually killed him with Chomp.
As you do.
As you do.
It's worth knowing that So1 actually was dealing with Expression in the backline, so he actually spared the blushes a little bit. If Lissandra had been able to either go past So1 or ignore him, there would have been a much faster end to that fight. So So1 did his best, but just indicative of the game plan from Longzhu, far enough behind that he couldn't kill Lissandra in a melee matchup on the backside of this fight. We're watching the replay now. It was all on the backside that was really, that was just a single pick. It looked like they would get out from here, but the re-engage with some flashes is what brought them a re-entry into this fight.
Yeah, Jack with the short Valk and does manage to power his way through the Chaos Storm. Meanwhile, more fighting will make that replay a little bit shorter. Expression did catch a large wave in the bottom side and now pushing his way towards the bottom inhibitor turret.
It's 4 kills short of a perfect game.
Yeah.
No structures for sure. Not even a hope or a sniff of a dragon.
Yeah. There we go. That Baron buff.
Oh.
Winged just gets obliterated. Has to flash out after coming down from his rappel, but the Jace is still on. Here comes Expression. Does have that opportunity to come in. Not going to take the claw and instead just focus on clearing out the remaining inhibitors.
Seems like Coco's finally found a team that can play a Jace comp with him.
Wow, I'm actually impressed. Here we go again. Coco now back into hammer stance, finds Winged. Expression there zoning out Pilot. Caught on the outside. And that's a double kill for Jack. And meanwhile, Kuzan under the turret. Jack has to run away from the Victor ultimate. Chain now trying to run away, but there are only super minions in that direction, and Death as he is trapped against the pillar. Triple kill for Coco to go alongside Jack's double, and Longzhu will close